Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Calling to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say, bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful May the 2nd, 2019, Grande Deportes. Big C will be calling in shortly. Them good old boys down south having a good time, getting ready for a lot of things happening in the sports universe. I just want to say what a great day in Northern California. I know they're having some issues in the Midwest part of the country, and hope that people can just hold on to what's important to them with all the flooding and the rain, especially through Missouri and Oklahoma and just a lot of the states in the Midwest. Our thoughts and prayers are definitely with you. We know so much has happened in the sports universe from NBA basketball. Portland gets a big win last night. They needed to get a win because if they didn't, they would be in trouble. Now they're going back up to the great Northwest and playing up in Portland. That'll be good for them. Tonight we have good games lined up. Philadelphia, and they're at home against Toronto. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that series, and many people were expecting that Philadelphia was trusting the process maybe a little bit too much, but they got blown out game one. Game two, they get a win, and now they have a chance to go back home to the city of brotherly love. And I don't know how Philadelphia got the name the city of brotherly love. They're brewing Santa Claus. They're brewing, Santa Claus and Bryce Harper. I guess they're not the same, but everybody knows that's a city that's crazy about their sports, and it's all fair in love and war. And there's something about NBA basketball. We have what's going on the West Coast. Golden State taking a 2-0 advantage back to Houston, having a chance to really put a vice grip around the Houston Rockets. Can James Harden see? Some people were asking him, is he going to play? Is his vision going to be a problem? And he said, no, I can play. And speaking of playing, this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So we know, obviously, the world of sports and betting is big. It's synonymous, and everybody loves a good bet. We know the Kentucky Derby is really taking a backseat to NBA basketball for the next couple of days. But when you think about some of the horses that are actually running in the Kentucky Derby, I think it's part of Big C Sports' duty just to bring it to reality. I know Big C is going to be announcing what's called the Big C Burger, the Big C hamburger at its restaurants down south. And it may be something that some of the other national chains might even catch on to, the Big C Burger. It comes with 2 beef patties, special sauce, there's lettuce, there's cheese, there's onions, a little bit of garlic, and some pickles, a little bit of seaweed. They put some seaweed on the burger. I don't know where that comes from. A little vibranium sauce. A lot of people, I hear there's a high demand for the Big C Burger, but it's kind of like KFC. They don't let you know what's in it. But I'm sure Big C will be telling us that as he gets ready to launch the new Big C Burger in his restaurants down south. I want to just start with the Kentucky Derby. For Saturday, we're coming up on the 145th Kentucky Derby, and you think about some of the horses and some of the names of these horses that you gotta love as much as you love the Derby in itself. And I think obviously we had Omaha Beach. They had a scratch, so he's not gonna be running in that race. But some of the names that I think are amazing in the sports universe: War of Will. That sounds like a Star Wars. That sounds like a Star Wars movie, War of Will. And that's a horse that will obviously has a 20-1 odds of winning the Kentucky Derby. So not really expecting much out of that horse winning. Now here's a favorite one. I think POTUS will bet on this one. This might be Donald Trump's pick to win the Kentucky Derby. And this is called Tax, like TAX for tax season. I'm sure that might scare POTUS away. But that has a 20-1 odds of winning the Kentucky Derby. I think the odds are better than POTUS showing his tax return. So then maybe that horse is not looking too bad after all, Big C. There's another horse. When you think about 20-1 odds, by my standards, is the name of a horse running for the Kentucky Derby. I know a lot of people are jazzed about what's going to happen in the Derby. And what I love about it is we have people wearing their hats and a lot of hats that are just, you bring them out for that one time a year, maybe Christmas, or even sometimes just a summer picnic. But definitely love the name by my standards, 20-1 odds. Now, there's another horse. The name is not as much, but I would think mostly for a politician. Gary Magician, 50-0 odds to win. So that horse is probably not going to come close to the finish line. And there's another horse that I like the name called Improbable. Now, improbable means that something's most likely not to happen. But when you have it for a horse running the Kentucky Derby, then everybody knows the name Improbable is always going to be something that's improbable, especially betting and winning at the Kentucky Derby is always something that we can call improbable. But I know that everybody has their feelings about seeing horses, run around the track just a couple of minutes to see which horse can run around the best. I'm hoping the weather will hold up. I know we had last year, we had the horses are running in the mud. And if you're down there in the south, you're used to the rain. I just hope we have better weather when it comes to that. Also, just a couple of more names for the horses that I think are a phenomenon. Now, I don't want to mention the horse. Big C, I know you're launching the Big C Burger. Let's let people know it's not horse meat. No one's eating a horse, because I know you had said on the program, the horses that lose, sometimes, they dedicate their life to our gluttony, and we don't want anyone to think we're eating a horse. I believe they eat a horse in different countries, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's how you get down. One name that has a lot of pressure on winning the Kentucky Derby, the 145th running of the Kentucky Derby, and that is called Game Winner. If you have a horse by the name of Game Winner, you obviously have to have some inside track to the winning of the 145th Kentucky Derby, and we'll have Big C calling in just a moment, talking about so we already know that Big C's launching the Big C Burger, and we know it has nothing to do with the horses. I know a lot of people kind of get upset because Big C seems to eat everything that walks on four legs. So I hope that's not part of it. Big C, I know we have you on the line. I was talking about the 145th running of the Kentucky Derby, and some of the horses like War of Will, that's a name for Star Wars or Star Trek. There's one called Tax. I know that's Donald Trump's favorite horse, but not his favorite thing to do. By My Standards is one. Omaha Beach is one that pulled out, that's Omaha Beach. But Game Winner's great. But I want to go back to one more. We have one called Roadster. That's a 6-1 odds. But with the new burger that you have coming out, the Big C Burger, that I'm sure a lot of restaurants will copy this style, do you have any feeling for the Kentucky Derby and the horses that lose, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you always got to understand when you hear about the winners of the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
Mainly if he's a stallion, he has a life of leisure, after winning the big event.
Yeah.
He's going to go out and spend the next 25 years just romping, eating hay, and having fun.
Yeah.
But those horses that don't finish in the top three, no one ever hears about it. People always wonder, what happened to that horse?
Yep.
He disappeared. All of a sudden, you're talking about a 1,500 pounds of meat on the hoof that nobody hears about anymore.
Yeah.
But, there's always the launching of a new meal by some exotic restaurant. Try this out, And especially with burger, no one knows what's ground up. Whether it's kangaroo, whether it's pork, whether it's turkey, whether it's horse,
anything,
anything, beef. They tell you what's in a burger,
right?
But you never actually see what's happening. I think that was a burger joint years ago, Fuddruckers or something along that line.
Yeah.
Where they used to hang a carcass in the window.
Yep.
But you never saw that carcass disappear, so you don't know what you were eating meat-wise.
You had no idea what you were eating meat-wise. Now, again, I know you keep a lot of secrets, a lot of tight secrets on the meals that you serve in your restaurants, but I did talk about the Big C Burger that will be opening at a restaurant near you in the South, and that might be something that Thanos and the Avengers would appreciate, Big C. He likes to eat a lot of meat, Big C, but if you can, without giving away any secrets, I said it's going to have 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, some garlic, some seaweed, some onions, anything else you might want to give as what the good boys can get their libations and have the burger with the libation, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the cheddar, the C can stand for cheddar, it can stand for tea.
Yeah.
It can stand for cold drink. When you look at it, gotta have something to wash it down with.
Yeah.
It's gonna be unhealthy. Let's put it that way. That's the best that I can tell you. To have a burger that's healthy. Who wants a veggie burger? Okay.
so Rush Limbaugh
can
come.
Veggie is a side dish on the burgers that we serve.
Yes. Well, I mean, when you say it's unhealthy, I'm sure POTUS and Rush Limbaugh will make a stop by. But you know POTUS tips well. He might tip you $130,000, Big C.
Well, I'm only going to send a male waitress to his table. Because only thing I want him grabbing is the utensils and a napkin, okay?
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to tip, make sure she's Caucasian. He gets down that way, Big C. I do want to talk about something that's somewhat serious, too. I know we love to laugh a lot on Big C Sports. We talk entertainment, sports, politics, even tap on religion if that's what it calls for. But I know it's something that's really near and dear to your heart because you talk about it all the time. And that's how do we find a way to pay these student athletes, most of them are African Americans. Since integration, these good old boys are finding a way to get kids to come to their schools. Now, Arizona's the latest one that, Patino's had his issues. That cost him a job, Big C. But then you look at Arizona. I remember that coach got a standing ovation because it's an accusation that he was paying Ayton some money under the table. Now, we know it didn't go under the table because people would have grabbed it. We know it went into some fund, some account that did not have Ayton's name on it. But you know how those things happen. Big C, give me your feeling on why they want to put the black athlete up there as the guy doing wrong when the white guy's making $5 million a year. Your thoughts?
Well, the allegation of the coach paying Ayton $10,000 a month while he's at school. The coach's contract was $4.5 million.
Yeah.
So, $10,000 a month. Let me see how much is that.
It's a tip.
It's not a lot. You talked about tip money earlier, okay?
Yeah, with POTUS,
That's tip money.
Yeah.
And we're talking about his salary from the school. We're not talking about his shoe contract.
Yeah.
We're not talking about his television contract.
Yeah.
So all of the fiduciary money that he gets on the side, beyond what he gets from the university.
Yeah.
The cry about what athletes have been getting over the decades, it has been horrific by the media.
Yeah.
Talking about cheating scandals. You're paying pay-for-play program. The University of Miami went through that years ago.
Yeah.
Under Jimmy Johnson and other coaches, Snellenberger, Erickson. We've had it in Oklahoma. We've had it at many major universities.
Yeah.
But you think about, just like you said, the cry has been against African-American athletes getting any compensation.
Yeah.
We talked last week on the show about Cleveland State and Cal Poly being put on sanctions, Charlton.
Small schools.
Because the student athletes got an extra $200 in this book stipend.
Yeah.
Book stipend. They're supposed to go to school to get an education.
Yeah.
So you're saying, well, if we didn't give you enough in stipends, you're going to have to do without those books for your classes, so you're going to fail.
Yeah.
The school was making sure that the student athlete had enough money to spend on their books, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden they go on sanctions. Now think about this cheating scandal that's been going on with white and Asian America, Charlton.
Yep.
Paying to get their kids in the institution. And the story has been that they're paying to get them in the institution. No, they were paying for degrees, Charlton. Not just to get the kids in the school. They were paying to get doctorates. You think about the family from China that spent $6.2 million to get their daughter into Stanford.
How much?
I don't know what class you're taking at Stanford, but $6.2 million is excessive.
Wow.
That means that you're getting a doctor in Charlton, and you're also on the dean's list, and you probably did this in 2 to 3 years without ever taking a class.
Yeah.
Those grades are automatically punched in by some academics at the university. That goes from the top down. We're talking about from the president on down at Stanford that people were being compensated.
Yeah.
So as we look at this, Charlton, and every school has been wrapped up in this academic scandal, what type of sanctions is the NCAA going to put on these schools, Charlton? Are they going to be banned from all athletic, competition?
Nope.
Because the white students in the student body, it'll come back. Oh, well, they weren't athletes.
Yeah.
So that's different. We have to handle that different. The rich white kids are going to get a pass on this. But the black athlete is continuously made to suffer and say, deal without a meal. deal without being able to get a new shirt.
Yeah.
The only thing you should be able to wear around campus is what the sports team gives out to you. You can't go out to a fast food restaurant and get an extra meal. But if you got a rich white kid that has an apartment off campus, and I'm not being flippant or racist in this, look at all the families that have been prosecuted by the FBI thus far. They've been white and Asian. And from the media perspective, this hasn't been an egregious act for them. They've been treated with kid gloves, walking into the courtroom, walking out of the courtroom. They haven't been suspended. You think about this. Some of them have, removed their kids from disgrace from the school because they might have been targeted. They said, why would you target a rich kid who's getting preferential treatment? What are the parents feeling ashamed about? But, all of a sudden, you look at, this reminds me when you look at sports. Look at how the Robert Kraft incident has been handled. Okay? Look at any black athlete who has faced any sexual misconduct allegations from the media, from the league, how they have been treated. Look at Robert Kraft. You have him on videotape. Most black athletes, you haven't had them on videotape.
No.
Robert Kraft, you got on videotape, and that's going to get suppressed by the judicial system. So when you talk about the fairness of how black athletes are treated, economically, socially, all you have to do is look at what's going on the media. You don't have to go with allegations. Turn on a news cycle.
Well, I think it's so important. When you think of Brown versus Board of Education, the history of that, it was in Topeka, Kansas, a landmark 1954 Supreme Court case in which the justices ruled unanimously that racial segregation of children in public schools, it was called unconstitutional. And you can Google it. Brown versus Board of Education. It was a cornerstone.
Thurgood Marshall argued that in front of the Supreme Court. A black lawyer before becoming the first Supreme Court black justice in America.
And it's a landmark civil rights movement. And I bring it up because even to this day, there are some Asian students that had sued Harvard, saying that they were unfair in their admittance processes for people of color, African Americans primarily, and Hispanics, etc. But we all know that we've seen the same thing that we saw in Jim Crow. And I'm asking for my white brethren, especially in media, that really won't talk about it if it has a white face on it, but they'll put a black athlete out there, whether it's a Reggie Bush, and make it seem like his fault. What happened down at SMU? Was it Eric Dickerson and
Eric Dickerson, Craig James was there, McElhaney at quarterback.
And now Ayton at Arizona. But one thing that's consistent with all of these athletes, all of their coaches are white, just like in Jim Crow. When white men got business loans, they often got it because they were white. I know many black men who got business loans, but they had to have a white man sign the documents because the banks wouldn't give loans to black Americans in the land of the free and the home of the brave. So when people say, well, we got to stop these kids from breaking the law and doing them wrong, I just think it's a shame that it's happened so many times for so many years, and it's going to take our white brethren to put an end to it. But why would they? Their kids benefit.
Look at it from this perspective. And we've talked about this a lot on the show. When one of these white coaches goes into a black home and tells the parents, what? I'm going to treat your son like my son. That's what I'm going to treat. So what's the problem in giving this black kid some money? You treat him like your son.
Exactly.
You told him, you told the parents that basically you're adopting him. You're taking him on. You're taking on the responsibility. Think about the language and what the coaches use. They've taken on the responsibility of rearing this kid for up to the next 4 to 5 years. And I'm going to treat him like he's my son. So where in America is it illegal to give your son or your daughter some money? This is the point that people need to look at. You got to get rid of the recruiting tool if you're going to make it, inappropriate to give the student athlete money. You can't go into somebody's home and look, I'm just going to take your kid and toss him into the university. I don't give a damn about what happens to him. Okay, let's be realistic. He's on his own. Whatever happens, if he passes, fails, if he eats, if he got shelter, I don't give a damn. But you can't walk into somebody's house and say, look, I'm going to treat your son or daughter like they're mine. I'm going to take care of all of their needs. I'm going to make sure they get an education, that they get the nutrition and housing that they need. I remember that being told vividly when I was being recruited. That was a long time ago. Cars were just invented. Okay? But now you look at the era that we're in. Every one of these coaches have become a multimillionaire off the slavery and sweat of these student athletes.
Yeah.
And it is slavery, because if you can't pay them, it's slavery.
Yep.
You know, I think about the movie Roots when it comes to that. Kunta Kinte worked hard, he just never got any money for it. Okay?
Yeah.
Never got any money for it. So same thing with these athletes.
Yeah.
They work hard, and you're saying they should not be compensated. But if you're a wealthy white family in America and you want to cheat, it's been acceptable. This little cheating scandal just came to the surface.
Yeah.
Something that's been going on decades. Just like black students being paid, student athletes being paid, white student athletes get paid also. But this little cheating scandal has been going on forever. But now all of a sudden it's broken. Oh, wow, how egregious.
Yeah.
It's only 32 families. 32. No, that's the first wave that they brought in.
First wave.
If there's 32, times that by 1,000 easily. When you look at the number of institutions in this country, and we're just talking about America.
Right.
We haven't brought in the rest of the world, Charlton, because academics is different than what athletics is, because football is only played in America and Canada.
Yeah.
It's not played in Mexico.
Not yet.
Played in China. It's not played in England, France, Russia, all those countries, Africa, Charlton, Australia. You think the cheating scandals have not gone on in these universities? So when we talk about the academic and the virile output that has been put towards student athletes over the years, mainly African-American athletes, throw that same venom at these rich white and Asian kids here in America that have gotten paid to go to university, paid their way into universities, gotten in technically illegally, did not have the academics, did not have the SAT to get into these universities. And you look at a lot of the degrees that have been passed out. It's just not this wave that we have right now. Think about the number of kids that have already gotten degrees, Charlton. That have walked out with their doctorate because their parents have paid a couple $100,000. So that they, once they get out, that's that investment in your future. You walk out, you got your doctorate, you're 23 years old, you can get a job anywhere that's paying you 6 figures, so they get the money back within 10 years plus interest.
I remember when I was doing football television down at Cal Berkeley, and I remember some of my just associates, people that I knew over at Berkeley, were having a conversation one time, about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and he was asking me, do I think affirmative action is fair? And I asked him, do you think that slavery was fair? Do you think that Jim Crow was fair? And this is what I want people to understand when they say, well, he got in because of affirmative action. You know, white kids do too. If you think about the Kansas, the Brown versus Board of Education, Topeka, Kansas, a landmark 1954 Supreme Court case that overturned the separate but equal approach to public schooling. In its decision, the Supreme Court reversed the 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson case, which originally upheld the separate but equal laws. Well, you know, when people don't have the same opportunity for business loans and where you live and how you get the loan, etc., and how you get the job, you can't make the same amount of money that mainstream. So I know Big C Sports is very passionate about it because both of us are African American men. And I challenge one of my white brethren to say you have not heard some garbage about, well, you know, he only got in because of affirmative action. White people have been getting the action all the time. It's called white skin privilege. And I know it's something that we're going to talk about more. Ultimately, it needs to lead to paying people. Pay people. You see how the coaches, predominantly Caucasian, they've been robbing the system for years. Let the kids get the money, and because most of them are black, the top athletes, I still want to see the white coach advocate for that, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at these prestigious universities all around America, Charlton, and you look at the financials that it costs to get into these universities.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to tell me that these parents have been paying forever?
Oh, they have.
That's white skin privilege, financial privilege to get in. When they talk about the school of the elitists, yes, it's been the elitist money. Not because these kids qualify academically. Think about the number of minority children in America, not just black, but minority children that have been ostracized from these prestigious universities because of their color. When they fill out the application, they've written down their race, which was non-white. So all of a sudden, they were not accepted to these universities. But you let some little rich white kid that parents had that six-figure money that they could pay to get that kid into school, they were accepted. They were accepted. And so when you talk about, you know, affirmative action, you think about Title IX, all of these programs that allowed minorities to get into university. You think about it. Anything that Americans, minority Americans, have been able to achieve in this country has not been given by society. It's had to be a law passed for them to be able to get it. White America has obstructed education with minorities since time.
Yeah.
You think about where African Americans are in this country, and you think about everybody, every gender, and every nationality have leapfrogged past African Americans in America, and they were once brought over here enslaved.
Well,
whether you're talking about transgender people, different sex people, different nationalities, African Americans are always being punished and put in the back of the line. A dog walking the street has more rights than an African American. And I'm serious. If somebody strikes a dog in a car going down the street, there'll be 20 cars pull over. Oh, we got to get them some help. Strike an African American walking down the street, 20 cars that drive past before somebody stops. Well, that's a fact. You can look at yourself, look in the mirror and ask, when are you going to stop if an African American is broke down on the side of the road and offer them some help? It just doesn't happen. That's what it's taught in America. But when we talk about cheating and saying that, well, as you said, well, they got in because of affirmative action. How do white kids get into these colleges and keep black kids out?
Yeah, we've seen it happen, and I think Big C Sports will talk about it more than everybody. And we know everybody has their own right to believe whatever you want to believe. But just Google, Plessy versus Ferguson and Brown versus Board of Education when you're talking about who gets into school fairly or not. I want to bring up something that's kind of, everybody has their own opinion. In the world of sports, we know it brings people together. Now, I cheer for Tiger Woods because he has brown skin, but even himself, he calls himself Caucasian for whatever, flippant reason. His mother and father, different ethnic groups, but he does have brown skin from the dominant gene, according to Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendel.
Well, when he and his wife had that problem, he was black.
Well, he was black when the law came out to him and lost his contracts. I understand that, but I want to bring up something. Tiger Woods is to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom at the White House from POTUS on Monday. Now, I wonder, because Tiger went to Stanford, so he has to be somewhat erudite. I wonder, will Tiger ask the president about the Central Park 5, where he wrote an article to have 5 innocent black men convicted and sentenced to death, and they were all innocent. I wonder if Tiger is pressing enough to talk about that, and also this wall to keep people of color out of this country, and this enmity that he gave when he told Bosa, who had the N-word all over his friend's website on Twitter like it was a handshake, and POTUS congratulated that man for his racial enmity and vitriol. Now, I know Tiger's not an ignorant person, but I know other men have said, hey, this is not the right time, but if not now, when? I know you've been golfing with him, Tiger. I know he has enmity for people who look like you. That means your kids, too. They look like the same people that were prosecuted in the Central Park 5, that were innocent. And I just know that people say, well, let's not talk about that. At what point in time do you look your kids in the eye and tell them that you have a lot of love and respect for them to end hatred and bigotry when people still do it freely, even though they may use euphemisms to talk about their bigotry, Big C? I would not understand how Tiger Woods, who's cheered by many black Americans when he wins a golf tournament, will walk right into the house and shake the hands of a man who has shown such enmity for people of color. Even with the housing discrimination in New York State, it was POTUS against people who look like Tiger. So if Tiger would apply for a home back in the day, if it came across POTUS' desk, he would have had to put C for color. They would have declined it. Is he conscious, Big C, or just looking to play golf? Your thoughts?
Well, I think his status is just to play golf. When you look at this celebration, you're going to tell me in this time, and getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom is a high, high honor.
Not from him.
But you're going to tell me during this time that no other African-American athlete has achieved anything under the term of this president.
Yeah.
Past or present, that you can only single out Tiger Woods. The reason why Tiger Woods is being singled out is because of where his status in the golf world.
Yeah.
That's why he's being singled out. I mean, I haven't seen any other golfers receive the Medal of Freedom. I haven't seen any other athletes receive the Medal of Freedom. You're going to tell me that none of these people are worthy of this specific, emblem?
Right.
What he's doing in this is trying to say, I'm behind the black community. This is what the president is doing by using Tiger Woods as a symbol.
Using the
and
operative
I guarantee you that he will use the term African-American in the White House on that day.
Yeah.
Even though Tiger will probably frown at it, but he will use the term African American community, that he's a spokesperson for the African American community. I've never seen Tiger go out and be a spokesperson for any event in the African American community.
No.
So regardless of his, interactions with African American athletes, he's not a spokesperson. Just as we say Al Sharpton is not a spokesperson. But the president is doing this for political father to say that I'm not a racist. I can bring an African American into the White House and celebrate him. That's all he's doing. This is grandstanding.
But if you ask for equality like Colin Kaepernick and a lot of other African American athletes to really bring about equality, and he says get the blank out of the country because you're anti-American, and I just think, just because you're famous doesn't mean you're well-read, and I hope, he has a father who served this country. POTUS didn't. But that's my own opinion because I read a lot. Maybe he just wants to go there and say he's been in the White House. Big C, I know that we're very passionate about Big C Sports. Everything we say, we ask people to Google. We ask you to read. Like the great Ernie last night on the TNT show with Shaq and Charles Barkley and Kenneth Jet Smith. They just kept saying Google it. As we tell you to Google it, Big C is going to come up on what we call the Big C Pause, and we will be back in just a moment. All right, Big C, we are back, and I'm telling you, I'm happy about everything that we can do with Big C Sports. You can hear the Big C Sports Show on the iHeartRadio Network, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Comcast, Xfinity, and we appreciate all the growth and support that we're getting. I want to ask you again, I know we talked about it as we started the show before we get into some hockey and some NBA. We talked about the Kentucky Derby. I know that you don't want to give out the secret because you and Colonel Sanders are one and the same. You both wear white suits. even in 2019, you wear the white suit.
Yeah, but his hair was whiter than mine, so that's the difference.
Okay.
We both tan well.
You both tan well, I understand. But are you ready to introduce to the world the brand new Big C Burger, been voted the best burger in the universe? You have any timeline on that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we will have a groundbreaking ceremony to introduce this. You're going to have a ribbon cutting and bring everybody in.
Yeah.
No free burgers, though, Charlton. Stay at the door.
You just scared away Charles Barkley. He's not coming down, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charles and Shaq, those are big fellas you don't want in the restaurant. Kenny the Jet, very light eater. He looks like he eats healthy, so he only needs half a burger.
Yeah, maybe Ernie, but I should have Shaq could eat 3 or 4 of those jokers. Big C tonight, NBA playoff action. Toronto Raptors at the Philadelphia 76ers. The series is tied at 1 apiece. We talk about trusting the process. Well, the process got exploited in Game 1, and they eased out of Canada with a win, a narrow win in Game 2. Within all the games already underway, they're in Philadelphia tonight, the place that hates everybody. Now, Toronto's 7-3 in their last 10 games. Philadelphia, they're only 4-6, Big C, in their last 10 games. I want to get your feeling on the way this game is going. I know Embiid's been struggling with some health issues. Toronto averages 114 points a game. Philly averages 115. Give me your thoughts.
Well, the health issue that he's been struggling with has been Siakam and the other center. Names elude me right off the bat. Gasol.
Yeah, Gasol.
And that's been the problem for when you think about Embiid, is that they've been able to put a body on him, wear him down physically, and they've also been able to work against him in speed.
Yeah.
You think about in this series, he's only averaging 14 points a game. He's averaging 27 points a game in the playoffs, but when it came to the Toronto series, he's down to 14 points a game. They've been an Achilles heel for him.
Yeah.
But when the biggest thing that you want to take out of this series, and no one's paying attention to it, this will be the first flight in the free agency. The loser of this series will have the first big-name player to enter free agency in the NBA. It will either be Jimmy Butler or Kawhi Leonard. So the winner of this series will move on, but the loser of this series is going to lose a key element of their lineup potentially. But, you think about getting the split up north in Toronto, that gave Philly the home court advantage. That's all you ever want to do is split on your opponent's floor because you maintain home court advantage. And so now it's imperative that Toronto goes in and gets into a quick start tonight. Siakam is going to play a pivotal role. You think about Lowry, who has been, dominant in the backcourt. Kawhi Leonard has been unstoppable. He has to get off. Ben Simmons has struggled with the jump shot. Jimmy Butler is what got him over the top in Game 2 with his 30-point outburst. But Ben Simmons, as long as you keep him in check,
yeah,
you keep Embiid confused, you can control the tempo of the game.
Yeah, I really can't wait to see this game. I do it on DVR. I don't like to give out scores because people go home and do their thing. But just thinking about who these players are trying to become the best in the universe. You think about Toronto, Joel Embiid is just a dominant player. But when you look at Embiid, he's averaging 27.6 points a game. Lowry's averaging 8.7 assists, and Gasol's averaging 8.6 rebounds. So, Toronto they have a lot going for them. And you think about Philadelphia, again, Embiid, he's doing his thing. Simmons averaging 7.7 assists. But Embiid averages 13.6 assists per game. And you think about how dominant they are. And his rebounding, he's a dominant player. If he's not healthy tonight, it makes it difficult. So we'll see what happens in that series. I also want to touch on an important note, and I hope he's going to be okay. Danny Ainge, Boston Celtics president Danny Ainge suffered a mild heart attack. He's expected to make a full recovery. And now, this is for all men. You talked about getting your checkups, Big C. We all have to get our checkups. No one would think that a world-class athlete like Danny Ainge would have some type of issue like that, but we don't know. It could be hereditary. He seems to be in good shape, but sometimes looks can be deceiving. Give me your feelings, your thoughts.
Well, you never know what health issues may arise at any time, but Danny Ainge, being part of a professional organization, you have access to some of the best health care in America and in the world.
Yeah.
You think about all of these teams travel with a couple team physicians. So to have immediate medical help at your aid right away, that's what allowed people to recover. And when you made the statement mild heart attack,
yeah,
it wasn't a severe heart attack, so that gives you a better chance of a complete recovery.
Yeah, so we hope that. And we just talked about the passing of the great Havlicek and the Boston area. I feel, as much as any city, and any city can say this, but I feel that when you're successful in Boston, you really are embraced as one of their own. And a lot of cities may say that, but I think in Boston it may hold true, maybe because it's an older city, it's been around a long time, and there's just something about, he's part of that Celtic organization, and to let him move up in the organization after his playing days, you would think maybe Larry Bird would have been the one, even though he wasn't. He went over to Indiana, but they've treated Ainge like he was the best Boston Celtic, but really it was Bird. So you think Boston has more affinity to their past great athletes than maybe any other city? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Larry Bird wanted to go back home. He was from Indiana. He grew up there. He went to college there. He never left there until he became a professional. So he was a transplant when he came to Boston. You look at Danny Ainge. We talk about the Philadelphia-Toronto series.
Yeah.
Danny Ainge's professional career started in Toronto as a third baseman with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yep.
Matter of fact, in his first at-bat in the major leagues, he hit a home run. His first play in Toronto history to do that.
Yeah.
So, he's been around, starting out at BYU. He was a two-sport athlete at that university prior to being drafted in baseball in college. But when you've been successful in Boston, you are a Bostonian.
Yeah.
For life at that point, and especially if you have a championship ring like Danny Ainge does. He has that championship pedigree of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
And he learned under Red Auerbach. He brought him in, took him under his wing, taught him his managerial skills. And Danny Ainge has been very successful in transplanting that into his own career.
And imagine the life of Johnny Most calling and play Bird to Ainge for three. Just amazing, the Boston environment. I really miss the old Boston Garden. I know the new...
Yeah, but that was a sweat box.
It was a sweat box.
If you sit up in there, it smelled like a locker room.
And
there was no air conditioning, Charlton. People passing out. And I don't know if everybody made it to the bathroom in there either, just because from the smell of the place.
A lot of the Boston boys, they don't need a bathroom. All they need is a place to hide behind a bush. But hopefully Ainge will pull through just fine. Our thoughts and prayers with you from Big C Sports. Danny Ainge, get well. Also, NBA basketball, Portland Trailblazers. Big C, they were up in Denver. And when you're in Denver, not only are you a mile high, that crowd is amazing. But them good old boys beat the Nuggets. I told you, anytime you see Nuggets, you like to eat them. I know you serve Nuggets at your restaurants, Big C. You like to eat them. Portland ate a lot of Nuggets last night. 97-90 victory over Denver. Series is tied at 1 apiece. Now they go back to Portland. This is something called timing, where everything aligns up, called alchemy. You're going back to Portland, the great Northwest, for the most part, ignored by NBA. And you go to the Moda Center, which is one of the most difficult places to win. If you have an opportunity now, if you're Portland, if you can go home and get 2, you're probably going on to the Western Conference Finals, but Denver has their own thoughts, Big C.
Well, you think about the city of Denver. I mean, you think about the fans there. They're one of 2 cities in the NBA that's celebrating 2 playoff series. You got the hockey playoff series with the Avalanche, and you got the Nuggets, facing the Blazers.
Yeah.
Jokic, everything still, as I say, has to go through him in Denver. Here's a guy that's an assist and a half short of averaging a triple-double in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He has the best, plus-minus in the playoffs. But he got in foul trouble in Game 2. And he spent most of the third quarter on the bench with 4 fouls, and that's when Portland was able to make their run. He has to stay out of foul trouble for Denver to run their offense efficiently.
Yeah.
They need to get a few more points out of their backcourt. They were a little sluggish in Game 2, and that's where Portland took advantage of them.
When you think about the Joker, you think he's big enough to handle the Big C burger? Remember that lady back in the day? She went to order the hamburger from a restaurant. She said, "Where's the beef? Where's the beef?" No one's going to question where the beef is on Big C's burgers. They're going to say, "Where's the bread, Big C?" Can Joker handle one of your burgers, Big C? Your thoughts?
Jokic can handle it, Captain. He's a larger version of a great center that played in Denver, Dan Issel, out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
But Dan didn't have any teeth, so he couldn't eat the burger. So I wasn't worried about him coming in. I mean, he could sit through a straw without opening his mouth. He looked like a hockey player. But when I look at Jokic, he's very deceptive in everything that he does.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's moving at half speed, but he's getting the job done.
Yep.
But he's a great talent, and he's a great asset in the NBA. He's been one of the top players in the playoffs. I mean, there's other more eventful highlight players that people talk about.
Yeah.
But when you look at the stat sheet, it's imperative for him to be productive for Denver to win.
Yeah, and you think about what they averaged on the season, 111 points a game for Denver. Portland averages 115. And for the Joker, he's at 20-point per game average on the regular season, 11 rebounds. You look at Lillard for Portland, which I think he holds that Infinity Stone. You know that stones that Thanos was looking for, the Avengers? And he's looking for the Infinity Stone called an NBA championship. If he's going to get an Infinity Stone, he's got to get at least 2 in a row up in Portland. He averages 26 points a game. Lillard also averages 7 rebounds, actually 7 assists per game. But Cantor, you talk about Joker being so dominant, looking for the Big C burger. Cantor can handle the Big C burger. He grabs 10.5 rebounds per game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about the fortunes of Ian Cantor. I mean, he was with your buddy Jimmy Dolan there with the Knicks. They released him. Portland picked him up a week later, not understanding that they would have the horrific injury to the starting center that they had.
Yeah.
But since coming in, he's been a godsend. He's averaged double-digit rebounds since he's been in the starting lineup in Portland, and he's been a physical force. He hasn't backed down from anybody. Matter of fact, he got Djokovic into foul trouble in Game 2.
Yeah.
But you need a defensive presence in the middle. You look at the Golden State series. That's been their Achilles heel with Houston, is that they haven't had a stopper in the middle, and if they could get some inside penetration, they would create a problem for Golden State. But, when you look at Portland, Cantor has fit right in like he's been there all year long with this team, and he's accepted the role that was given to him.
Well, I know, so he's due for the Big C burger. I want to just touch on just 2 more NBA games. I know we're going to preview them tomorrow. But you've been a guy, you poked many guys in the eyes before I understand.
Allegedly, man, Allegedly. This is a slip of the hand. They didn't have the face guards back in those days. So, you can't always assume something happened intentionally.
Okay, I understand. But I do understand. You're one of the guys that made them outlaw long fingernails when you're playing pro ball. But if you look at Harden going into Houston, Game 3, a game they got to win. The way the NBA wants to have more than a sweep in a series, they'll probably win tomorrow and on Saturday, and Golden State most likely will win Game 4 and 5. Just the way things are going right now. But Harden has to have his vision. I don't think his vision is as bad as people were making it seem, because he was still knocking down threes in Game 2 after he was clawed the eyes by Draymond Green. Do you think James Harden, who gets away with a lot of dribbling and taking 4 and 5 steps, do you think that if he had access to the Big C burger, would he be able to see better? Your thoughts?
Well, ironically, after being poked in the eye, James Harden shot better in the second half than what he did in the first half.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it was antics that James Harden knew that the camera would be constantly on him, so he was making all kind of facial gestures, trying to get the broadcasters to be empathetic for him.
Yeah.
But a professional athlete, when you're out there competing, injuries happen all the time. You think about the kid in Denver that had the broken nose.
And that was real.
Did it hinder him at all? He came right out and knocked down a three.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't hurt his hand.
No.
Steph Curry dislocated a finger on his left hand.
Yeah.
He still shot better with the dislocated finger on his left hand than he was prior to the injury.
Yeah.
Athletes respond when there's injury, when there's difficulty with their body. For some reason, the adrenaline kicks in any athlete who has suffered an injury, and they know that they have to compete better than what they were prior to the injury.
Yeah.
Because they think that their opponent thinks that they're a little weakened at that point. But if you look at James Harden, he knocked down threes from 27 feet after being poked in the eye. So he didn't have any problem finding the basket. Matter of fact, his dribble penetration to the cup.
Yeah.
He got there effortlessly.
Yeah.
So it's all about the story that the analysts of the game want to make up, saying, he's going to be hurt by the eye. If he was hurt at any point, he would have left the game. The key element is that the eye was not swollen shut, Charles.
Yeah.
If the eye had been swollen shut, then we would be questioning James Harden's vision.
Yeah.
But you look at half the players in the NBA, they've all had some type of eye contusion during the ball game.
Oh yeah, they all had it. Who was the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wore the
goggles?
Wore
the goggles because of that.
Because people were poking him in the eye all the time.
James Worthy did the same thing.
Yep.
Many other NBA players, Charlton, have put on goggles because they've been hit in the face.
Yeah, and so we know, if you would think he was like Rocky when Sylvester Stallone and Rocky got, he said, "Cut me, Mick, Adrian." He couldn't see. I think Harden's acting, and he's doing those State Farm commercials. Maybe he's trying to act for the State Farm commercial guy to come out and help him too. So Steph Curry, obviously, he qualifies for the Big C burger. For Golden State, I know you like Draymond Green. I know you say that Draymond Green is he's like the ice in the glass that keeps everything nice and cool. But I still think Durant is the best player and the most deserving player in the NBA universe for the Big C burger, and looks like he's heading, if things stay the same, to the NBA Western Conference Finals MVP. And once you get into the NBA Finals, the way he's playing, a guy 7 feet bringing the ball up the floor, I've never seen that before. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's easy to make Kevin Durant an MVP because he's a highlight player.
Yeah.
But the basketball game is won by the guy who does everything.
Yeah.
Draymond Green is not a media darling, but all you have to do is look at the success of the Golden State Warriors over the last 4 years, even prior to Kevin Durant's arrival.
Yeah.
And the fingerprint that's on that is Draymond Green. Yes, Steph Curry has a Finals MVP.
Yeah.
Yes, Kevin Durant has 2 Finals MVP. But the one Finals that got away from the Warriors, Draymond Green was absent. So when you want to talk about a true MVP, you have to talk about the overall nuances of what somebody brings to the game.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to say Kevin Durant because it's easy. You're knocking down 30-foot jump shots. It looks cool. Nobody can cover you.
Right.
But turn around and look at stat sheet. You got a guy that's got a triple-double, and he's a power forward in your lineup.
Yeah.
He's bringing the ball up the court 50% of the time in Golden State. Draymond Green has the ball in his hand.
Yeah.
He's going to the basket, passing it off. When you look at the things that he does unselfishly, I know the media wants to beat him up. Reason why, in my perception, is because he's the darkest of all the Golden State Warriors. So it's easy to point him out. He doesn't have the commercials like everybody else.
The paperback test, Google it. Yeah.
He's the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And so let's go after him. But he's always been edgy when it comes to the media. He has spoken his mind, and the media is not like that.
Yeah.
But when you sit down and you watch the true nuance of the basketball game, you can always talk about a guy who's knocking down the three-point shot.
Yeah.
But show me the guy who's playing tough defense. Think about how great Dennis Rodman was during his career.
Oh, what a matchup.
With the Detroit Pistons and the Chicago Bulls.
Yep.
He was a lockdown guy. He got the rebounds. He assisted. And he was always thought of as the hub of the Chicago Bulls. Look at what the Chicago Bulls when he came there.
Yeah.
Look at what the Detroit Pistons did while he was in that lineup. He was responsible for 5 championships of teams winning them, Dalton.
Yeah.
And everywhere he went, the teams got better. Draymond Green has been the hub of 3 championships for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
When he's in the lineup, they have won 3 out of 4 championships. So when you tell me who's the straw that stirs the drink, that's Draymond Green. To me, he's the best player in the Warriors organization.
Well, he's still got to pay for his Big C burger. I know you're not going to give it to him for free. As we look at the Eastern Conference tomorrow, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the guy is amazing. I wish I could build my body like him. And you know, they're going into Boston. Danny Ainge is going to be okay, so there's not a lot of emotions going on about that, worried about him. If anything, I don't know if extra emotions will help them play harder. You still got to make Giannis realize that he's in a physical game. And you brought up Dennis Rodman, and you brought up Draymond Green. The Celtics have to play Giannis like they're the Detroit Bad Boys back in the day when they were beating up Jordan. Give me your feeling on which way that series will bounce, Big C.
Well, you know, this game is going to go through Kyrie Irving. If he's getting his shot and getting to the rim, he can control the game. He had an off game in game 2. It was the first game that the Celtics have lost in the playoffs with him this year.
Yeah.
So they're 4-1, 5-1 with him.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing how the media didn't attack him. But you know, you got Milwaukee, the best team in the league.
Yeah.
And when you think about Bradley Beal there, he's a guy that made the difference in game 2 for Milwaukee.
Yeah.
They have to put a stopper on him. They're going to get their points, Milwaukee. It's just a matter of how much defense can Boston play in this game, because they have to slow it down. They can't play an up-tempo game against Milwaukee, because now you're doing what the Bucks want. They want to run.
Yeah, they want to run. I want to ask you one quick question. With Kyrie Irving, as dominant as he is, you would think he would be, well, he didn't start out in Boston, so I can't say the prodigal son, but they have adopted people in to treat him like the prodigal son in Boston. But I know Shaq went there. He wasn't considered the prodigal son. And I know when you think about, the late Dennis Johnson playing there back in the day, even Bill Walton, Kyrie Irving reminds me in mentality of one of the commentators that's now on one of the, I think, TNT broadcasts, Kevin McHale. Mentality-wise, they were a little bit dirty. I mean, not dirty like bad players, but dirty like they would give you the elbow and let you know about it too. But Kyrie, he doesn't seem to get the same favor. That make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, in those type of cities, you have to win a championship. You think about all the great players that have gone through that city of Boston and played every major sport there.
Yeah.
Your signature is winning a championship. Just because you're there as a player really doesn't mean much. When you look at the true fans in Boston, and you have championships in all 4 major sports.
Yeah.
And that's even in the last decade that you've had championships in all the major sports.
Yeah.
That's what the fans look at. That's what the fans recognize. Players will always come and go.
Yeah.
But when you start naming players in Boston greats, it's just like Kobe said about the Lakers.
Yeah.
We don't hang, conference championship banners. we hang title banners.
Yeah.
But when you look at the jerseys that are retired in Boston, those jerseys have championships all written over them.
Yeah.
They have championship significance. They just don't hang jerseys because you played there.
Yeah.
So that's what Boston fans are accustomed to. Once you give them that championship ring, then you're recognized as one of the Boston greats.
One of the Boston greats. Well, we'll see what happens with NBA, especially tomorrow. And NHL playoffs, hockey playoffs tonight. Columbus, they're at the Boston. Well, they're playing Boston now. Boston, you think about it. They lead Boston 2-1. That's not what people expected. And now they're in Columbus, so that's a tough series for Boston. And then I want to get your feeling, the NHL, the San Jose Sharks at the Colorado. They play Colorado Avalanche up in Colorado. So the fans in Denver have a lot of, things they can enjoy, libations, etc. And maybe it's just weird saying the Sharks because, of course, I'm a West Coast guy, but I'm not supposed to be partial. I know I am, but I still feel that they got the benefit of the doubt from that power play that lasted 5 minutes, which is egregious, and now they're just moseying on down the road. Give me your feeling about those 2 series, the Columbus and Boston, and then San Jose and Colorado. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, as we talked about, those are 2 cities that are enjoying both NBA and NHL playoffs when you talk about Boston and you talk about Colorado.
Yeah.
But, when you look at this Boston series, Charlton, they're used to being down in a series when you're talking about the Bruins.
Yeah.
This is hockey. Hockey is a hard-fought game. It's a game of skill and breaks.
Yeah.
And as you talked about that 5-minute power play, That's the key in hockey playoffs, is to stay out of the penalty box.
Yeah.
You get into that penalty box, all of a sudden you get that opponent that power play, and they'll take advantage of it.
Yep.
When you talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're a team that's hot right now.
Yep.
And you got to get hot in the playoffs. They did that earlier when they knocked out the best team in the NHL.
Yep.
And they're ready to do that to Boston. But Boston's not going to go down easy.
Nah, it's a crazy town for sports. We know we love it. And Major League Baseball, as we close out on Big C Sports, and we know we talk about so many things. Really looking forward to the Kentucky Derby coming up over the weekend. Tonight, and some matchup games, Major League Baseball. Cincinnati at the New York Mets. San Diego at Atlanta. Houston at Minnesota. Colorado at Milwaukee. And Tampa Bay at Kansas City. Games going on now as we speak. St. Louis at Washington. Boston at the Chicago White Sox. And then Toronto at the Angels of Anaheim. St. Louis at Washington again. I know in the nation's capital there's a lot of things going on. Baseball will probably find its stride, and they'll start having more people pay attention to the swing of the bat as we approach summer. But right now, everything is NBA basketball, and then hockey, and of course NFL's year-round. Give me your feeling on Major League Baseball, your thoughts.
Well, right now, Charlton, they're fighting for tennis. They're fighting against major NHL hockey playoffs.
Yeah.
They're fighting against the NBA playoffs. And you think about when you're looking at those two sports, they're both being played in prime time.
Yeah.
So everybody's at work during the middle of the week. So baseball is not going to get the attendance. This is the reason why when you look at these playoff games, they're pushed into prime time hours. You think about what would happen if you played an NBA playoff game during the daytime.
Yeah.
Think about the number of people that's going to call in sick to work.
Yeah.
Or sitting there watching it on their computer.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to get. But there's so many games in the baseball season. You still got 140 games left to play.
Yeah.
Nobody's really concerned about it right now. 135 games to play.
Yeah.
So you got to spend some time concentrating on the sport that's about to end, and that's why a big reason why the attendance in baseball is down right now.
Yeah, and I love it. I still want to see great things happen in the world of baseball, and we know it's going to happen once the season gets underway. I want to just do something to make you happy, Big C, real quick. I want to talk a little bit of auto racing. The NASCAR Monster Energy Cup, the points leaders Kyle Busch. And you think about Busch, and then there's also Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick. Give me your feeling on why NASCAR is so big in the South, but hasn't really caught on the West Coast, even though we have nice racetracks up in the Bay Area and Sonoma. Also in Southern California, Fontana. There's even a big track outside of the Central Valley town called Bakersfield down by I-5 in the Central Valley. What makes it such an appealing sport in the South, and how will it compete with the Kentucky Derby? Your thoughts?
Well, NASCAR has always been a mainstay. It sprung out of moonshining years ago, Charlie, where everybody was running from law enforcement. So they say, hey, if we could do this on the back roads, let's make it track. And
make some money with it.
Think about it. Most of the time in moonshining, they would drive around in circles.
Hey,
that's what NASCAR came from. Let's drive around in circles, see if we can outrun. And so that sprung on, NASCAR, because the good old boy, as they say, the good old boy, anybody could do it with a backyard garage. You could get onto a track and get into that industry. But, it's a big party is what NASCAR is.
Yeah.
It's a big party where you can bring 100,000 people together, and there's no holds barred. You can bring and drink and eat anything you want. Alligators, buffalo, roadkill, anything goes.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll find some of those on the Big C Burger coming out at a restaurant down south. Also, for the good old boys that play Major League Soccer in the Eastern Conference, DC United's atop the heap, followed by Montreal, Philadelphia, and Toronto FC. In the Western Conference, you have LA, and then the LA Galaxy, followed by Seattle, and then FC Dallas. Give me a feeling again on all of these great sports that we have all over the country. We all love it. But I want to close out Big C Sports today just getting your thoughts one more time on this college scandal, because we know the players are the ones that are the face of it. But in reality, the players can't negotiate someone sneaking into college. That comes from administrators that are mostly mainstream and coaches that are mainstream, but they're trying to put a black face on it, and I don't like that. Big C, give me your thoughts again, how to fix that.
Well, when we look at it, when we see about these alleged scandals that have gone on television, you haven't seen one white kid flash across the screen of their parents that have paid their way into one of these major college institutions in America.
Nope.
But the media has no problem showing the black athlete that has allegedly gotten money from a coach or a program or a booster on television. They're constantly showing their faces. I'm waiting for equal justice from the media. Show me some of the white and Asian kids that their parents have paid hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars to get them into these universities falsely and get them the degrees. Let's see the face of them. Let's do equal airtime if we're going to do justice in America.
I agree. And also for you people think, well, they only got in because of affirmative action. Big C Sports is not put together by affirmative action. It's put together by hard work and prescience and providence from the universe. Also, we just love that when people are fair, be fair to everybody. It doesn't matter what color you are, at least to me. I know it does to society. That's why we've had slavery and Jim Crow and laws that we had to have passed. Brown versus Board of Education, Plessy versus Ferguson. Google those and make sure that your heart is right when you're trying to advance a society. Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C. What are you looking forward to in this sports universe?
Well, Charlton, the NFL never stops. We got rookie minicamp starting tomorrow. And there's a whole lot of veterans that's going to feel like I felt when my career was over. I'm unemployed.
Well, they don't have to stay unemployed. I know Big C is launching the Big C Burger at his restaurants down south, and I hear he's looking for some waitresses and some waiters to come fill the spot. Big C, everybody knows everything's fair in love and war. You can find out every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.